In the ancient world, there's a story about when 300 Spartans protected a pass at Thermopylae. And it was the place where they were all honed, where they were, where literally they were tested, where their metal was put through the fire and purified. That's what you get in this episode today. So stick around because we're going to talk about all that and a whole lot more coming up right now. What's up, my know-it-alls? I cannot believe this week's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Mr. Know-It-All Review. Specifically, we're talking about Halo Season 2. So, I don't know where you are on the entire Halo thing. We are absolutely spoiling it, of course, because we want to talk about everything that's going on. So, today was the penultimate episode. What does that mean, boys and girls? The penultimate episode means this is the second to last episode. Generally speaking, in most things, this is the place where the story itself crests, and either the next episode is going to be the downhill of that crest and you get to see the resolution of several things that have happened throughout the season, or it is the setup for something huge. That's what this episode was. This episode is called Thermopylae, and again, like I said at the head, this is one of those episodes where they really tried hard to work to make the entire thing fit within that particular narrative, and it did a good job. I was pleasantly surprised by everything that's happened so far. By the way, thank you so much for everybody who's been in the comments section. I want you to know I see each and every one of you, and I really appreciate us having this discourse throughout this entire season, because I know that I went into this thinking I was going to be the only person who was sort of enjoying this, mainly because I heard so much season one hate when it came to, so like the games and this and that, and all these criticisms, which, while valid, were sort of harsh. I'm more of a believer that, you give everything an opportunity and let it sit on its own. And this is one of those things that absolutely has become that. So the episode starts with you get to see the resolution of last week's cliffhanger, which is John and Maquis putting their hands right there on the both of them on each of their artifacts respectively. And when that happens, immediately they're there again on the Halo, and they're talking, and they have a quick exchange, and he's basically like, and each of them says essentially, we have to find this, because if the Covenant finds it, they'll kill humanity. If humans find it, they'll kill the Covenant. It's this whole snake eating its own tail scenario. And at the end of the day, Maquis is like, if we find it, this does more than destroy. The Halo is much more than a weapon, to a point. Because again, I've been doing more of my research and whatnot, so we'll get into some of those theory crafting toward the end of this, and kind of look ahead toward the next season. At least as far as where I think they kind of have to go for some of this stuff. Anyway, right as they're coming to this kind of conclusion, John sees through the hologram mist, if you will, that she needs to move because she's under attack. And sure enough, we cut back to the Covenant ship she's on, and some of the bigger soldiers are coming after her. The priest guy chases her down. And finally, at the finished place, she manages to, Cortana shows up, and Cortana distracts him long enough for Maquis to take her little energy sword and punch it right into this guy's chest. Boom, you're done. And then we cut back to John, and as he's taking his hands off of the artifact, you see the entire place just like this energy wave issues forward, and it's amazing. There's a very brief exchange between Ackerson and Perengoski, where you find out that she's going to go ahead and start throwing the Spartan 3s at the Covenant ships, because the Covenant fleet is coming. This forces Ackerson to kind of be like, they're not. She's like, I thought you said they're ready. And he's like, well, yeah, but she's like, you figure them out. I'm figuring out what to do with them. It's this whole thing. Ackerson gets real suspicious. And what he does is he ends up going down and he does a simulation on the spike. Come to find out, what they trained the Spartan 3s for is not exactly the right thing. So they told them the spike will give them a virus that will make all the Covenant ships drop their shields, blah, 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 make it more easy to fight and whatnot. That is not the case. No matter what, when they put the spike in, it's going to send the different drives that they have into overload and explode in a massive and a massive explosion that will take out it literally like 100 million miles in all directions or something. It's ridiculous. It's something stupid. Cut to John stalking through the halls, and Lieutenant's stupid face shows up again. We can't stand her. It's literally the third time we've seen her. She shows up with a bunch of flunkies, and she's like, take him, he's resisting, take him down. But literally, John like took a step forward. It was hilarious. And so what happens? He walks right up to this kid, literally looking a kid, and puts his chest right in front of the dude's barrel. And he's like, go ahead then. You got to pull the trigger. You get to look easy, bro. I've been on the other side of the gun. And it's a very interesting scenario. And so finally, all of them stand down. It's pretty awesome. And they're like, yeah, no. He looks at the lieutenant, he's like, you do it yourself. If you want him dead, you do it yourself. And they leave. They leave her. What's her nut shows up? Kai knocks out the lieutenant. And the lieutenant, and John's all like,
didn't ask for your help.
He's basically like, listen, you believed. She's like, well, you lied to us when you this and that. And he goes, you believed people who were out to kill us. That's a problem. He's like, I got to get my suit. That's when she notices that he's following blue lights. Cortana's leading him somewhere. Now we're going to, I'm going to cut right here. We go then back to Halsey. Halsey, Quan Ha, and Halsey's daughter are all in that original laboratory area that Halsey was researching the Covenant and all those things, basically the artifacts. We find out this is where she found the mixed Covenant and human DNA. And so her and her daughter managed to open up with the help of Quan Ha, who, by the way, finally becomes relevant to the series at long last. And so what does she do? She helps them uncover the fact that she finds what looks like constellations. They think it's a navigational map, and she says it's not a map, it's a clock. So she realizes she has seen, if you remember from a few episodes back, she had seen in a cave these drawings that look like suns or stars or constellations, and she begins moving these little points on this map, and as she moves them, they begin to form what looks like a ring. It looks like a schematic of the halo, and as soon as they do, they all move into that ring, the one I thought was going to be a portal, and it turns out it was actually a doorway, the doorway that leads to a Forerunner base, a Forerunner science lab. It's literally like a level out of the games has just jumped right out. There's the entire, energy force shield bridge they have to run across. And on the other side, they find the body of one of the Forerunners holding what looks like a small piece of something. Halsey and her daughter believe very firmly if it was a scientist clutching it, it has to be the scientist's work. As they're about to try to start investigating everything, the place starts shaking and almost not falling apart. We're pretty darn close. So they manage to barely escape. As they're running across the energy bridge, the entire floor area beneath them begins to light up, and you see what looks like a Forerunner city. It's an entire city of underground of some kind. And so that's literally what Halsey's focused on. And they managed to make it out. And Halsey looks at her daughter. She's like, tell me you grabbed this thing. And sure enough, her daughter did grab the little scientist work thing that we're talking about. So then we go back to John and Kai as Cortana leads him right to Dude's office. So Ackerson is sitting there and John walks right up, picks him up by the throat. That's where we get this encounter here. That's over my shoulder.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't kill this guy right now.
Honestly, nothing comes to mind.
And he's basically like, give me a reason. Later on, he tells him, he's like, I came here to punch a hole in your chest and watch you bleed out the way Vanek did. And I'm like, God bless, bro. John ain't no joke. He tells him, he's like, listen, he's like, I came to get my suit. He's like, I'll take you to it. Absolutely. And so he takes him to where the suits are at. And sure enough, there's the 3 suits that they took with them. Kai clearly has hers. And as they're sitting there, he turns around and he's like, I didn't know this and that. And he goes, but you did know, because he tries to tell him Paragoski this and that. And John tells him flat out, he's like, you need to go tell everybody. And he's like, it's going to be my word against Paragoski's. He's like, not after I walk out. When I walk out, there's going to be an awful lot of questions. You better be ready to answer those questions. So dude's like, it's going to ruin me, this and that. And he goes, everything comes with a price. This time, it's you. And I was like, dang. So he goes, no, it's great. And so he goes, and he's going to come clean. Meanwhile, John gets into his suit. Oh, yeah. And Kai makes a decision that she's going to go with the Spartan 3s on their mission. Because no matter what, they have to be stopped. He says Perengoski's not wrong. We got to stop them somehow. You're going to have to lead them. And she's like, all right. He's like, I have to go to the Halo. This is where they split. I firmly believe this is the last time. We might see Kai again, maybe, if she manages to survive. But I genuinely think this is how we're going to end up with John being the last man standing. In terms of being the last Spartan. That's going to get us to that place where he's literally the only Spartan left. Everything is coming to a head. John's in a ship. He's heading toward where he believes the Halo to be. The Covenant are, what's his face? Him and Maquis, who have managed to control their ship finally. Maquis takes, if you remember from a couple episodes back, the Arbiter had that thing that he used to brand himself as a traitor or whatever, as the Marked. She takes the same thing and she marks herself, thus binding her and the Arbiter together. So there you go. Now you know. If knowing's half the battle, you're halfway being know-it-all yourself. What's an all index for this episode for me? I'm going to go, I really liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm going to go a 9. Straight 9 out of 10. Comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Did you enjoy what they had to offer? Are you interested to see where they're going? I know I certainly am. Regardless of how you feel about the series in terms of whether you're used for the games or not, it's definitely carrying its own story, and I feel like it's doing it successfully. We're getting closer to a very earned. I feel like the moment when Chief is walking down the hall in his outfit and everyone sees him, he doesn't have the helmet on, and which I'm like, really, y'all? I feel like we're getting to a place where we're going to get Chief, Cortana, the armor, the whole 9 yards, and we're going to get it all together. And I'm here for it. So real quick, what are some of my guesses for the kind of the moving forward in the future? I think we're going to get to a place where he manages to stop them from taking he's either going to use the Halo. He's going to, but ultimately we're going to get to a place where he's going to have to go into some form of cryogenic sleep. We're going to have to get a time jump because now we have to start doing similar things to what happened in the game. And in the games, there's a major time jump between the first game and the second game. And it's because he gets put in cryogenic sleep and then eventually gets woken up again. Eventually, probably in like season 3, we'll probably end up dealing with Cortana. We're going to build the Cortana being the villain, all spoilers and stuff like that down the road. But for right now, we have to really get them together and mesh. And then ultimately, because you got to remember, realistically, what you have to look forward to is we've gotten the Fall of Reach. We're going to get the Covenant defeated. Then we're going to end up with, we're going to get the Forerunners. And the Forerunners have become, so then you're going to have the Covenant and humanity working together, which will be a major time jump. After that, the next thing is Cortana trying to take over everything because she goes insane during the time frame, the next time jump that happens when he gets into cryogenic stasis. Those are the major key points of the storylines moving forward. And I feel like with major plot points like that, you can't really skip them. Yes, you can alter elements from the story, but at the like little parts like we've seen. But I feel like at some point you have to keep in order to be the story we know, to keep the highlights. And that's really what I think we're going to end up getting. So comment below. There is a B plot. There's a B plot about Kessler and Dude and Thermopylae. It's the only real reference to Thermopylae. But at the end of the day, it isn't important enough for me to say. It wasn't important enough for me to bring up. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you very, very soon. I cannot wait to see the finale of this next week. All right, don't forget, coming up later on today, we're also going to be doing a review of Invincible Season 2, Part 2, the very first episode, which dropped today as well. Look forward to seeing you guys there. All right, guys, I'll talk to you very soon. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.